this is what we call summary of the report that we have done. And the detailed report is chapter 4 is about 36 pages. And out of this, I have extracted information there. And because of the time, I didn't what we call put a lot of information there. And this is a summary. If you would like to know more about the detail, and the report is available online. And again, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land. And in addition, our authors, reviewer, and editor that report our report. And then Maria, thank you. And these are the existing guidelines we have reviewed, and European, Canadian, US, and then ISO and the Japanese one. And if you look at them in detail, they are targeting different, what we call heat pump system for different application. Imagine if you want to sell something in other country, if you produce your heat pump in Japan, and if you are exporting to Australia, or if you are exporting to, other countries, you got to meet their requirement. And you also need to make sure that the data that available fit in with the weather condition that we will be running. So there is a big issue in here, and design method relying on the data coming out of the manufacturer plus and the testing method. And different countries have the different testing method, different standard. So we don't have a unified what we call system of doing this. And if you are a manufacturer of a heat pump, and if you export to other countries, you will see that difficulty in there. So this is an important aspect. And if we want to develop a guideline, we need to know exactly what testing method we use and how we are going to apply those. At the same time, how do we calculate those methods? The one that Lauren mentioned it before in detail. So that's my what we call introduction to our existing guidelines. And if you look at the existing guideline, you can see that they ranges from 2007, and Lauren is updating that one, and it's coming. And again, if you can see that some of those are quite what we call not updated. And for example, ACCA manuals is coming, and new version in 2023, and some of those ISO standard is also in 2012. So we can see that there are time lag behind one to the other. And also, if you look at the heat pump type, not all heat pump types are covered by all these guidelines. So you need to be very careful with when you design. And for example, geothermal heat pump or ground source heat pump, and not many what we call guidelines and the standard cover those. And this is an important characteristic that we should look at it and when you review the guidelines. And another one is as application that we are using it right now. And mainly we are interested in space heating and domestic hot water. That's an important one. And because of the what we call requirement of the cooling, we started thinking about the cooling application now. Okay, so especially European guideline, they focus on heating and domestic hot water. These are the very important aspect right now. And for the future, we may need to think about the cooling. And again, as you know, urban heat island effect and global warming effect and those sort of things. So it depends on the location, depends on the what we call target country or target climate condition. We need to have a look at that. So from here, you can see that different application has been focused by different guidelines. So we don't have universal one for everything fit in for those applications. And these are the challenges we found. As I mentioned you before, there is a gap between the ages of current guideline. So it means ongoing evolution of sizing guideline within the industry exists. And that's why we require to regularly update design guideline or sizing guideline. And again, technological advancement and the methodological refinements are there. For example, new artificial intelligence control system, they are becoming, better and better. And those things we need to take into account. And smart control system, and for example, new calculation methods, new testing method, we need to take into account for all these things when you are doing this design guideline. So it's not, we can't just develop ourselves. We need to rely on the testing methods plus calculation method. These are the fundamental. We need to understand those first. And after that, we can develop those sort of universal guideline that we are aiming for. And another important things Lauren also mentioned that what we also found in the standards and efficient operation under varying load condition. If you are going to apply in heat pump, and we need to think about varying load condition, always your temperature outside changing all the time. So the one that you selected for the, you need to make sure that you have the better efficiency at partial load. So different compressor might provide you different, what we call part load efficiency. And also we don't want to oversize our system for the initial investment. So we need to think about the part load efficiency and then initial capacity that we should be selecting. Okay. And another one important aspect is using multi-stage heat pump for a larger total loads. And again, depends on your system. And if we are aiming for buildings, and if it is a small house, it doesn't matter. However, if we are looking at the commercial operation like a hotel and those sort of things, if you have a multi-stage heat pump system, we need to think about those things. Okay. Another solution may be using the cold and heat thermal storage solution, and design guidelines are not what we call taken into consideration of those at this moment, and we need to have it included. And if we are looking for, better energy efficiency for the heat pumps in buildings, okay? And the control is a very important one. Lawrence already mentioned it in his presentation. Depends on how you control it, how you defrost your system, if it is air, and these are the very important aspect for maximizing the performance of our heat pump. And we must have clear and what we call technical documentation and control strategy for these systems are required, because nowadays we have a complex control system and sometimes we treat them as a black box. Sometimes we don't know what it's doing. So we must understand those. Manufacturers should disclose those, how it's operated. They all depends on what's the standard testing method they need to go through for certification and star rating and those sort of things. So this is beyond what we call guideline for design guideline. We need to look at the standardization for testing and other things are there. Okay. And when you are going to develop, we need to have a target system because we can't do everything. So we need to prioritize. For example, for us at this moment, what we are thinking is a hydronic heat pump system for space heating and domestic hot water. That's we think we might be focusing on, and air conditioner like variable refrigerant flow rate, because they are becoming more and more popular and they are a lot of usage in the building at this moment. So these are what we are thinking about prioritizing our challenges and new types of what we call guideline for universally applicable guideline that's we are aiming for. And future focal points, sizing procedural heat pumps, that's an important one. And operation under low partial load condition, that's a very important aspect that you already mentioned. We already mentioned that. And control system, that's a new artificial intelligence control or artificial neural network control or dynamic system control. These are coming in, and we need a transparent specification of the control logic from the manufacturer that we need to ask for. And sometimes these control are, commercial and confidence. We don't even know what it's doing. Okay. So, and the last focal point is a quantitative information for our energy use for different specification and product selection. And we need to coordinate with energy use calculation methods plus testing one. They are there too. And thank you very much. And that's the end of my presentation.